Now, it's really nice to say he needs us to worship him. Even the rocks will cry out if we don't, right? But that's only because we've been created. And once it was spoken out of his mouth and it left his divine being, no matter what it is, it must worship him because it came from him. It's its duty. It's its obligation. It's what it was designed for. But before it ever existed, there was no need in God because there was no lack in himself. To say that he lacks something is to say that he's missing a piece or an element and he's not God. There can be no lack in him whatsoever. There is no lack in him. So I'll say why in a minute. God is a spirit. The Greek is pneumahotheos, and it's really transliterated God is spirit, not God is a spirit, as if there's more spirits subsiding beyond him. But God is a spirit. John, this is what I love about John the Beloved. He has such a revelation in his epistles, different. Now, Paul's probably my hero, but John had this heart and this revelation of the deity of Christ in all that he wrote in John, and 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, and Revelation. This guy, this teenager that fell in love with the Savior because he loved him first, right, is so caught up in the deity of Jesus and the glory of Jesus and the majesty of Jesus that he writes like this. And he says, God is a spirit. God is spirit. He also says, God is light in 1 John 1:5. He's describing the essence of the being. God is spirit, God is light, and God is what? Love. 1 John 4:8. You see that? So we see three things with God. He's spirit, he's light, and he's love. Spirit, light, and love. I'm not going to deal a whole lot with the first two. The final third one, love, is where we're really going to kind of touch on. In either case, can we read spirit as God, light is God, love is God. The non-corporality of God is clearly stated, and the personality of God also. All this is put in three words for the first time. And if you think about this, these are the first time these revelations are coming out. God is spirit. God is light. God is love. And what that statement is, if you seem confused by it, isn't this. Oh, light is God. Right? If we say light is God, then light comes before God. You see what I mean? Oh, light is God. And then so God is something from light. Oh, God is light. You see what I mean? God is. It always must begin with God is self-existent. God is eternal. God is light. Light is not God. God is love. Love is not God. You see, does that make sense? Because we love, and that love exists here, but is that love God? It proceeds from God, but God is love. So love, you see what I mean? God doesn't proceed from love. Love proceeds from God. So God must exist. God must exist. How many's ever heard arguments for God's existence? How many's ever tried to argue for God's existence? I think we all have in some cases, right? You know, we're trying to prove God and all kinds of different things. There are theological arguments that are used. I say arguments. Arguments rarely convert anyone. Apologetics has its place, but apologetics, meaning to argue or to prove a point, we are told in Peter to be equipped enough to be able to give a ready answer for the hope that is within us, right? So we need to be able to answer certain things, but at the same time, arguments never win an unregenerate mind. The Spirit must lead and draw and guide and open. But that doesn't mean arguments have no place, because they do. And how many love to argue? Everyone's like, no, I don't like to argue. Only when you're right. It's the only time we like to argue. right? So God is spirit. As the cause of all, the primal base of the world, this belief is required. There's a few things I want to get here. When we look into the past and we inquire as to the origin and the whence of all existence, this is the cosmological proof of God. So write that in there, cosmological. And what does that mean, cosmological? That means looking at the cosmos to determine God. And God, in Romans chapter 1, it says, even creation shows you that there's no excuse to not believe in me. I've shown myself in Romans chapter 1, but in creation. So there is a cosmological argument. A flower, an eye. I had this conversation with my daughter, and they're starting evolution in middle school, and I started talking to her about the eye. I won't explain that, because you can. Dr. James B. Gill, if somebody's ever heard of him, he does a lot of free books. He has a book called Refuting Darwinism, and it's all in the eye. And decimates evolution just using the eye. He is the world's leading ophthalmologist, so he knows a thing or two about eyes, right? But just that thought. So there is a cosmological argument for God, so write that down. This is Aristotle. I put a few names in here that led these thoughts. How many's ever wondered what Aristotle thought? Some of these things. These guys weren't atheists, by the way. We always think of Plato and Aristotle. They were philosophers. They were talking about the origin of life, but they were talking about God. They weren't evolutionists. They weren't trying to disprove God. They were trying to figure it all out. How does this all work? Theology comes in and answers the question for these philosophers. So Cicero and Leibniz and Schleiermacher, however you say his name. And then as the world's master builder in cosmic artistic skill and beauty, this is a proof of God. This is the physio-theological God, proof of God. Socrates and Aristotle, Leibniz and Wolff. Yeah, it's physico-theological. It's a hard word. I think it's up there. I hope so, because that's the hardest word to write. The other ones won't be too bad. And what does this mean? Well, what is that argument to prove God? This is structure. It is creation, but it's taking the cosmological look at space up close. It's taking the rock in front of you, the geology, and you see what I mean? The structures of man and skeletal systems, and looking at things in a whole deeper way to get into, wow, there is something to this. It's not just something we look out at as we're looking at stars. It seems distant. This is more of an up close thing. And then we have believe. I have my notes. I like this one. The teleological proof of God. Socrates and Plato. What is that? Teleological. It's T-E-L-E. I don't know if that is even over there. Probably not. T-E-L-E-O L-O-G-I-C-A-L. Logical. Teleological. And what does that mean? That is, teleo is Greek for goal. Purpose. Everyone in here knows you're created for a purpose. That's why the Purpose-Driven Life book is sold more than any other book other than the Bible and the history of books, right? So why? And that's because man knows distinctly that, man, he was designed for a purpose. And this is a proof of God. An evolutionary existence of us, there would be no purpose other than survival of the fittest. And then there would be, what would we do? We would, conquer and kill. And right? Animals have instinct, but they don't have purpose.